Hey everyone, Carrie here from Second Spring Naturals. I thought I would do a quick video, as quick as I can, to give you some information about how I handle my taxes, my inventory, tracking my batches, and all of these things related to taxes. And if you are an owner of a handmade soap shop, like I am, you may have an Etsy shop. You may also have a website. You also may have other streams of income like consignment shops, like wholesale, like events. And there are a variety of ways that you can bring in income, but all of those things need to be tracked a specific way. So I thought today I would walk you through how I have handled this and how I have learned to do it really over the past 5 years, and hopefully save you some time and some frustration, and maybe even alleviate some of the fears that you have around taxes and small business. The first thing I want to say is that you should never let a fear of taxes or keeping the books stop you from starting a small business, because it really isn't as scary as you may think it is. And with some guidance and the support of some experts, you can absolutely do this. And it's just a learning curve that you have to get used to. I feel very, very comfortable and confident this year for the first time, really, since I started my business. So this is the year I want to share with you where I am in my business and the systems that I have used to get it started. Do not have to be afraid to get an accountant or think you're too small to have one. It's one of the best investments you can make for your business, and I highly suggest it. Okay, that said, let's talk about. So the first thing is, what kind of shop do I have? 2, I'm going to go over how I track raw materials, inventory, and batches, because I am a manufacturer of handmade products. How do I track that? Number 3, how I code or organize my inventory. This has been the trickiest part, and I have a good handle on it now. I'm going to share that with you. And number 4, systems that I use, from spreadsheets to QuickBooks to my accountant to a binder system. So this has been an evolution in the making, and I'm going to share those things with you now. So number 1, the website, which is where most of the traffic funnels through. I have a Facebook group that I do monthly sales. I have an email list that I sell on every month. I have consignment shops that do really well for me, which is a whole other issue with inventory, but it's manageable with systems. I have wholesale shops. I do several events. But I have to track all of it, and without systems, it can be very overwhelming. It's also an LLC. I right away created an LLC out of it. I started my own business bank account. So those are 2 things that you might consider. You can do a sole proprietorship. You can also start it as an LLC. It just separates your home income from your business. Just went to my local bank right when I opened my business, and I started a business account. You want to separate your personal from your business. When you begin to pay yourself, you're going to pay yourself from that business account. In the beginning, unless you are set up a certain way, you are going to just take draws from that, and your accountant can tell you more about that and how it works. How I track raw materials and inventory and my batches. And manufacturing and trying to keep your books is that you have QuickBooks that can track all of these things, like your expenses and your sales and all of these different things, which is great. And it does have an inventory component to it. But if you are manufacturing and you're trying to pull almost like recipes from what you're doing, it doesn't have that capacity, which is where something like Crafty Base came in, or Soap Maker 3. For me, I've decided to track that on my own in a separate system, because it's just the way my brain works, and it has been perfect for me this year, and it's free. So let's take a look at the first thing, how I track and kind of code things that you need to do if you're manufacturing things like soap and cosmetics. So there are different rules for each, and I would suggest going onto the FDA website, and it really is pretty self-explanatory once you kind of go through and look at that. It's easy to navigate. Another thing is, get this book if you are a manufacturer of handmade beauty products. It's Marie Gale, Good Manufacturing Practice for Soap and Cosmetic Handcrafters. It is gold. So this is what taught me. I haven't really had to look back in a while, but really GMP, if you see that term, it's good manufacturing practices. It gives you everything from different templates to telling you what an SOP is, standard operating procedure. Basically, what you want to do is right from the get-go, set yourself up as if you are a bigger business than you are. Because eventually, what your hope is, and I hope, is to grow into a larger business, and then you have all of these systems in place. You're not trying to backtrack and get everything together. Start it when you're smaller, and then you can ease into growth. So start with Marie Gale's book. Another thing I do is I now keep different binders for different purposes. One is called SOP. So going along with moving or acting as if you are a larger business than you are, every business should have standard operating procedures. So this is what I work primarily alone right now. I might contract some things out, which I do, but I work alone. I don't have employees on my payroll. However, eventually I will have employees on my payroll. How am I going to explain every detailed task to them of what I need done, from manufacturing soap to making sure it's cleaned up exactly as we need to do it in the studio to stay in compliance, to making sure you put on gloves and your hairnet, and all of these things, from those things to accounting procedures, to every procedure you can possibly imagine for your business, you need an SOP. So I have an entire binder of SOPs, and I'm going to take one of them out. This one is, you want to just keep you can do a Google Doc or a spreadsheet or whatever, but you want to number them, right? So you can see I have a lot of them. This one is SOP 112, and it says V1, version 1. And I based this template. It's a little bit different. I've modified it over time, but it's based on the templates that Marie Gale shares in her book. So this one is SOP 112, utensil and equipment cleaning after batch production. And then it says the purpose of this SOP is for cleaning utensils and equipment after the batch production. So anytime I make a batch of soap, if somebody were to come in and try to take over this task, they have to know how to clean it a certain way. Things have to be very hygienic in a soaps and cosmetics studio. So you want to make sure that things are sterile and that procedures are being followed. So it has the responsibility, who's responsible for doing this, what materials you'll need to do it, and then detailed procedures in steps from 1 to 10. And then, let's see. Oh, I actually have this, I didn't realize I did that, but I broke it down according to what's being made. So soaps versus creams, there are some things that are a little bit different. So if somebody's coming in to clean after soap, they're gonna do it a certain way because the soap has to sit in the pot for 24 hours before you can scrape it out, versus the cream where you're gonna clean it right away. So my rule of thumb is that monitoring anything else or start the next day, the work the next day in the studio until anything has been cleaned up. So has check marks. So anytime I make a batch of soap or make a batch of creams, when I'm planning for that month of manufacturers, I just print out my SOPs, and it has a checklist of what the ingredients are, everything I have to do. And this ensures that I do everything correctly the same way every time. I've information that, you see that? Information that, again, I have gleaned and modified from Marie Gale's book, but it's a spec and it has a code next to it for every raw material. And by raw material, I'm just referring to things that are like ingredients, anything that goes into production, so of a product. So this it'll say spec, and it has a code that I've developed for that particular ingredient. And then it has a description. So if somebody's unpacking an order and they get avocado, and I'm not doing it, I know what my avocado should look like. I know how it should be sealed. I know exactly who it should be coming from. But if somebody else down the line is doing this, they need to be able to see that it needs to be a yellowish liquid. It should have a mild scent. It should be taped on the top. It should have, certain things present. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna write down then when it's received, and they're going to do a batch code for it, and I'll show you that in a moment. So anytime I revise this, maybe I switch suppliers or something, then it would say SOP with the code V2 version 2, and then down here I mark that. So it seems kind of complicated, but it's really not once you get going. And if you start early and just kind of keep up with it, it's really not that big of a deal. All right, so that's SOPs and specs. The next thing I wanted to go over is, this is my batch records. So anytime I make a batch of soap, I do kind of work with these binders, but I use them in conjunction with my spreadsheets, and I'll show you that in a second. So this binder is broken down according to what the product is. It starts with soaps, then it goes to creams, and then lip balms and perfume oils and so forth. So I'm going to pull one of these out and show you what this looks like. So this says SOP 136. So remember I told you I print out the SOPs prior to making my batches. I know what I'm making that month. That helps me know what I need to order if I have to restock some ingredients, etc. So this is SOP 136, manufacturing energy soap. So this is what it looks like when it's written on, okay? So this is like the checklist. It has exactly what I need. If I modified the amount in it, then I have to modify it here, and I check it off all the ingredients. And it's not just ingredients, it's a stainless steel large soap pot, it's a stainless steel lye pot and lye spatula. It's spatulas for the soap, I know I need two. A scale to weigh my ingredients, my gloves, my hairnet, my apron, my goggles, my 2 large slab molds, and my mold liners. So I check all of these things off. If I miss something, then I'm gonna see here in the ingredients. So some of the ingredients would be like olive oil, right? Distilled water, the fragrance, or essential oil, like for instance in the energy I use lime essential oil, and if I forgot to put that in there, it would just be much easier to do if I'm kind of going from rote memorization. And then at the bottom it says reporting. So again, this is another, you know, it's the Marie Gale thing. It says log manufacturer into online system. It used to be Crafty Base, now I'm just logging it into my spreadsheet. And then I always take a note. So if there's something in here that seemed a little different or that worked better than last time, I take a note, so that way I know going forward that I can refer to that. All right, so that's the binder system. Now, when I come up with a batch, so that batch made 99 bars of energy soap. So what I do then is I take the code for energy soap. Every single product has a code. So SR1 through SR17 are all of the codes for my bar soaps. From there, what I do is I develop a batch code. So this one says SR3. You can see this little sticker. This is my energy bar. So it says SR3. Is that focusing? I don't know if that's focusing. All right. It says batch SR3 010719, and then it has the date on it. So I've also recently started this year adding in a 1 before the 19. It's the first batch of 19. It just helps me track it even better. So all of those will get one of these stickers. And then I go to my online system to log it. So I'm going to stop. Okay, so we're gonna actually take a look at my laptop here, and this is just in my Google Docs. So this is done for, you can see the title, it says example for video taxes. So these aren't necessarily my real numbers, but I have taken some of my real numbers and plugged them in here just to give you an example. So this tab right here, so I would have 2019 accounting at the top, and then this tab says raw materials tracking. So I have a separate document that has every one of my codes in here, but my codes are also right here. So almond oil, for example, is SALM-OIL. Avocado is AVC-OIL. Code, and the reason I keep them here is because I need to refer to them constantly. I have learned over time what has helped me with my accounting is to just keep my beginning inventory right here. I will do the same with my sales, which I'll show you in a moment. So these would all be filled in, but say I started with 0.4 pounds of, everything's done in pounds, of sweet almond oil at the beginning of 2019. And then this says beginning inventory for non-weight. So that would be something such as, find an example, labels, 299 labels, because that goes into the cost of goods sold. It's considered something that goes on the item when I'm making it. It goes into the cost of production. So that has a space here in the raw materials. So then I go to date purchased and received. Okay, so the date purchased and received, I got a batch, not a batch, but I got a supply of the almond oil in on 1/1/19. So then I assign a lot number to it. So it's always ING. This is just my system that I learned from the Marie Gale system and kind of made my own. ING dash, and then the code, SALM-OIL is the code for almond oil. And then it says 01/01/19. So that's the date that it was received, and then that goes on a label, and I stick it right to the almond oil, because according to the FDA, you should have everything labeled and on your shelf that way. And that way you can always track things back. So it's all about tracking things back if something happens with a batch. So that's what we do. And then I have total amount in pounds that I ordered Q1. So January through March, what's the total that I ordered here? And that's the total units. So it would be like things like labels or jars or whatever. So then we add it up. Total used in manufacturers. So this tells me what I used. How much did I use in my manufacturers? Expenses. This is just a very bare bones look at what I'm doing in 2019 for expenses. QuickBooks basically keeps all of this. So I like to kind of keep a running total here too, in case there's some kind of a question that my accountant has, or I'm looking at something that I'm not sure of, I can just tell. So Q1 and then notes on that. Q2, there'll be notes, Q3 notes. So for instance, I put this down here. It's $250 spent for photography. That's something I'm investing in every quarter for Instagram photos, etc. And then it tells me, what it's for. And then, it goes all the way down. And what you'll see is that they're labeled according to what you would need on the Schedule C for your taxes. Supplies, equipment, it would say like advertising, entertainment, meals, things like that. So my sales, it says, and this is just how I do this, but January Etsy shop, January PayPal. So anything that's like cash, that's PayPal, that's shows or events, and like kind of all of the miscellaneous things, all of the sales go here. January consignment, totals, wholesale, all just runs under, and this says January Etsy and Shopify. Shopify is where the platform that hosts my website. So everything that goes, like all of the wholesale, other individual orders, things like that, everything runs through Shopify. So you can see that I have everything broken down in alphabetical order. My best day soap, my best day cream, my best day perfume, my balancing act soap, and then obviously that's not in alphabetical order, but you get the idea. So totals, it does the same thing February. Okay, so then at the end of March, I'll look at my Q1 totals, and all of this will get consolidated into one spreadsheet that's Q1, Q2, Q3. It makes it easier for me. It makes it easier for my accountant to look at. Okay, and now the detailed totals. So once I have all of that in there, then I'm going to have something that's a little bit more detailed. So I've got all of my products here, and then right here it would say beginning inventory. Okay, so that's missing. I meant to plug that in for you, but the beginning inventory, what I started with in 2019. What did I manufacture in 2019? 200 bars. Okay, so this will go up, right? So then I add what I started with and what I manufactured, and that gives me the total beginning. So that's in yellow. So I know that the total beginning minus the total items sold should give me the end of year inventory account, right? But I have to take things into account like donations, charitable donations, which I do a lot of, product donation for marketing purposes, loss from failed batch or expiration of products or use for testing or samples. Those bars are going to come out, kept for personal or gift use. There'll be bars in there. So these numbers will factor into this. So that's what we do with that. And then I also do the dollar value at cost. So at the end of the year, my accountant knows that this is what I have left in inventory. And this is everything, every product that I have. And I do the same for my raw materials, everything I've left. What is the cost of that? If it costs me $1.49 to make each bar of soap, then it's going to be $47.68 in dollar value. So all of that said, those are just some examples from how the spreadsheet can work with the binder to do everything from your inventory tracking to your accounting. And then of course you want to use the Marie Gale book as well. It's good manufacturing. Finally, the systems that I use. So I use the spreadsheets in conjunction with the binders, and then I also have QuickBooks. So QuickBooks I'm not going to pull up right now, but it's just a system that your bank feed runs into it. It shows how much money is going in, how much money you have spent on things like supplies, packaging, whatever it is that you're buying for your business, and then it categorizes it into all of those different things like sales versus detailed lists of expenses, money that you've paid yourself. So check out QuickBooks. It works fine. Just have some kind of back end to track if you're manufacturing. If you're not manufacturing, even better, you can that's it. I use spreadsheets. I use QuickBooks. I use my accountant. She is invaluable, and she actually, this year, every month did my QuickBooks for me and charged me a really nominal fee, just not bad at all. This year, she told me to save my money and do that part myself because I'm just clicking and categorizing, and I'm perfectly capable of doing that, so I'm gonna do it this year. And then she'll check it to make sure I haven't messed anything up in June and at the end of the year. And then my binder system, and I just have that, that piece knowing that I have everything organized and it's done the right way. If anything, I am a bit of a rule follower with things like this. It makes me really nervous. I want to make sure I'm doing everything the FDA wants me to do and everything that I need to do for the IRS as well, so that I can have fun and enjoy my small business. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you. If you have any other questions, please leave them in the comments, but I'm going to leave a link to my Etsy shop. If you have any very detailed questions, I am not an expert in accounting or anything like that. This is what trial and error has brought me to. I also have some recommendations for a spreadsheet that you can actually purchase that I can share with you.